let me just speak out on behalf of my profession. And I've spent a lot of time critiquing the profession, and I've been a print journalist my entire career, and so I really tend to see journalism through that lens, even though I think the way most people interact with journalism is through television.
Yeah.
And I can tell you there are, within my organization, within every news organization, people just as dedicated, right? Like this profession does matter. And
Absolutely.
we all fail to some degree. I wish we could be more self-reflective as a profession, but most people I know really are trying to do a service.
Mm-hmm.
Most people who got into journalism did get into journalism because they think it's critical to our democracy and to a fair society. It doesn't mean they don't have flaws. They don't bring their own biases. They don't reflect the hierarchies of our society. They do, but they also spend months and months and months tracking down public records and sitting in on school board meetings and reading the budget for all the people who would never go to a county commission meeting. And
Right.
I hope our profession is not dying. We're struggling. We're struggling a lot because people don't think they should have to pay for news. They don't understand that it costs a lot of money to be the one sitting in all these meetings and revealing, all the shenanigans of our elected officials and powerful people. And I fear, Amanda, that it's going to be one of those things where it's hard for us to realize what we're losing because we feel like we're getting a lot of information, but we're not getting a lot of good information, of vetted information that journalists, actual journalists have standards. We have to actually, verify things. We
Yeah.
have to be able to
Have notes and
prove that these are
sources and
facts, right? We have to have sources. Most people don't actually understand the degree to which journalists stay up at night every time you publish a story because you're afraid that you got something wrong. All of us do that if we're actual journalists. And that when we lose it is when we will realize how much we need it, and it might be too late. That you can't, I don't agree with our founders of this nation on almost anything. But one thing they understood is you can't have a free society without a robust press. And I just think that our democracy is endangered if we do not maintain a strong press. And we are in a bit of a death spiral, especially with local news. And I'm not sure what we're going to do to save it, but I just fear that the average American won't realize what's lost until it's gone.
do you feel like the standards that you named are being upheld professionally in the same way that you were held to when you came into this space?
I think most news organizations do try to adhere to standards. Again, fail all the time. I critique media all the time, but they strive for it. I do think so. I think most people in news take it very seriously. Now, the problem is, of course, is we have a lot of billionaires who are just buying up news
Yeah.
organizations who see them as they hoped as a money making scheme. I'm blessed enough that I work for, the New York Times is still family owned, and it is owned by the people, the same family that founded the New York Times, and they care about journalism. Doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but I don't ever come to work thinking I work for an institution that does not actually care about journalism. So I think most are. I do think we get confused about the difference between punditry and journalism, right?
Yes.
So half the people you
Yes.
see on your TV news aren't journalists.
Nope.
They
But
they
people think it is, but you
but they
understand why
think
people think it
that they
is,
are.
right?
That's of course they do. Yes. I'm watching a news channel. I'm assuming that the people who are speaking to me, unless they're an expert in the government or an expert elsewhere, are journalists, but many of them are not. And so I do think that is confusing to people, and I think that leads to the distrust that many people have of the news. And then we all get lumped together. Again, the New York Times does something very, very different than the hour-long cable news show
Yes.
on CNN. We don't do the same things.
So before we go, how, if at all, has journalism, being a journalist, affected your love life?
Damn, that was not. I have been interviewed many, 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 many times. And I've definitely never gotten that question. I thought we might get a
Yes.
question about my shoe fetish, but we're gonna go with my love life. I will tell you one thing. My husband, he would joke about is when I'm in the throes of a story, nobody better talk to me. Period. I go
Okay.
down in the basement. I stay in the basement for days upon end. If I was a man, I'd come out with a beard. And I'm not a pleasant person to be around. Writing is hard. Journalism is
Whew.
hard.
Yes.
Trying to translate what's in your head to the page is grueling. Most journalists hate writing. We just love having written. Once it's done and out in the world, it feels amazing, but the
Same.
process is grueling. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Well, we appreciate you sharing even that tidbit. Thank you so much for the work that you do and that you continue to do, and for what you are inspiring folks to do. I think a lot of folks understand that being Black in America is a very unique experience, and that we need people in all spaces, not just in medicine, not just in politics, but also in journalism, who are in that space with a bias about us.
A bias for justice. I'll claim that. I know that was your closing remarks, but I just want to add two quick things.
Go for it.
We all have the potential to be journalists. Some of the most important reporting has been done by citizen journalists. And the year I was awarded the Pulitzer, the young lady who filmed George Floyd's murder was also awarded a Pulitzer as a citizen journalist.
Flex.
So I want us all to feel empowered, that when we see things in our community, we can record and we can bear witness. That is the role of all of us. And the last thing I want to say is I'm just so appreciative of you, Amanda, the way that you use your platform. I love following you. I learn things from you every day. And like you are such a voice of justice, even though I know how that causes people to come at you. I'm just grateful. Jokes are one thing, but this is real life. And this is real death for a lot of people. And you could be using your platform in many, many other ways. And I'm just grateful that you choose to use it this way. And I say that sincerely.
Well, I'm going to cry because I'm a Cancer, and because I really, I do honor your work, and your work I really am going to cry. And your work has like affirmed just like my existence, like in so many times. Like there's just been so many times where I'm just like, see, I'm not just saying it. It's real.
You're not crazy.
No.
It is a conspiracy against us. You're not crazy.
I was on a Delta flight last year and started watching these little masterclass tidbits on Black history, and you and other great Black women, I'm being specific because I felt like the brothers was weak, but y'all was really, you and Gwen Ifill and Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, and Angela Davis, et cetera, were really revealing to me in literally like 12-minute segments, Nikole Hannah-Jones, like, oh my God, there's so many holes to my scholarship. And like, I think what you did and what y'all did in that one flight, I came on that flight one way and I left that flight different. And I literally left that flight realizing like, oh, you have to dedicate yourself even more than you already had. Like there has to be a whole other level of purpose that you have to dedicate your voice, your platforms, your purpose to, in not just educating others, but educating yourself. And I think I had kind of lost my way in that. And you got me back on track. So thank you.
Thank you. Just thank you. Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
This is a Black girl love moment.
It really is.
Are you invested in this? I am invested in this conversation. This is like one of them articles where you start to read it and you're like, I gotta keep reading it because you need more. Well, if you want more, then let me tell you what to do. Go on over to my Patreon, Amanda Seales, or go to theamandaverse.com. Either route will get you where you need to be to see the full extent of this interview. Yes, come and join us at the Seal Squad.